You've been told to fear the hunger for power, that Machiavelli's name belongs in smoky back rooms with knives hidden in smiles. You've been taught that his philosophy is a venomous creed, a shortcut to tyranny and moral decay. What if that bedtime story is the very thing keeping your mind fragile? What if the caricature of the monster is a carefully constructed cage to keep you predictable, manageable, and weak? Feel that knot of tension between your shoulder blades. That's the muscle of your own unused agency, atrophied from a lifetime of being told to be nice and wait your turn. Good. Let's wedge this video right into the crack of that comfortable illusion. The Prince isn't a villain's playbook. It's a construction manual for a skull made of stone. It's a field guide to the physics of human interaction, stripped of all sentimentality. We're not here to debate 16th century Italian politics. We're here to strip the engine for parts. Strip the politics, keep the psychology, and you get 5 tools you can deploy before the next text alert lights up your screen with a demand disguised as a question. This isn't about becoming a monster. It's about understanding the monster so you're never its prey. No fluff, no sermons, just leverage. Cold, hard, psychological leverage for a world that has no intention of playing fair. Ready? Let's roll. Picture the man, Niccolò Machiavelli. For 14 years, he was a high-ranking diplomat for the Florentine Republic, a political insider at the heart of European power struggles. He met kings, popes, and generals, seeing the raw mechanics of power up close. Then, in 1512, the Medici family, backed by foreign armies, stormed back into power. In a single brutal sweep, Machiavelli lost everything. He was fired from the job he loved, more than his own soul. He was accused of conspiracy against the new rulers. He was arrested, imprisoned, and subjected to the strappado, a form of torture where his hands were tied behind his back, and he was hoisted into the air by his wrists, dislocating his shoulders. After the torture, he was cast out, exiled to his small family farm in Sant'Andrea in Percasina, a man erased from the world he once navigated with skill. He was bored, humiliated, and filled with a sense of profound failure, complaining to a friend that he was rotting away in the countryside. But in that dusty farmhouse, instead of succumbing to despair, he did something else. Every evening, he would shed his dirt-caked farmer's clothes, put on his old formal court robes, and step into his study. And there he wrote. He took the brutal lessons of his rise and fall and forged them into the world's most misunderstood survival guide. History remembers the scheming. It forgets the takeaway. Control what you can control. Anticipate the rest and refuse to break. He was a man who learned from the fire, not from the armchair. We're not theorizing. We're translating his hard-won battlefield intel into the language of modern life. Cancelled flights, passive-aggressive group chats, and the soul-crushing dread of 3 a.m. ceiling staring. These 5 lessons are his legacy, distilled into their purest, most potent form. Use them, and life stops hitting like a surprise attack. It starts hitting like a forecast you've already read. Section 1. See people as they are, not as you need them to be. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple that a deceitful man will always find plenty who are ready to be deceived." He later sharpens the point. He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. This isn't a cynical rant. It's a clinical diagnosis of the human condition. The deception he's talking about isn't just about con artists. It's about our own desperate need to believe, our craving for approval, our hunger for loyalty, our fantasy that people will treat us with the same consideration we show them. This is the vulnerability. Your need for the world to be a fair and just place is a neon open for business sign for emotional vampires and petty manipulators. They don't have to work hard. You do the work for them. You project your own decency onto them, and then feel shocked when they behave according to their nature, not yours. Machiavelli's core insight was this: human nature is a constant. He famously described men as ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous, not because he was evil, but because he saw that under pressure, this is the default setting for most. Loyalty born of love and friendship is a bond of obligation, which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage. Start with the mirror. Take a brutal inventory. Count how many times in the last 24 hours you expected someone to act against their own immediate self-interest, simply because you wished they would. You expected your boss to notice your extra hours without you mentioning them. You expected your friend to offer help because you would have. You expected a client to be loyal after you gave them a discount. That expectation is a blindfold soaked in perfume. It smells nice, but it makes you a willing victim. Rip it off. The world isn't a mirror of your own best qualities. It's an ecosystem of competing interests. Here's how you start building the muscle. Try this. The next time a co-worker swears they'll cover your shift, or a partner promises this time will be different, or a salesman tells you this is the best deal you'll ever get, run the silent math. Quietly, internally, ask yourself, what is in it for them? What is their immediate need being served by this promise? What pressures are they under? What do they gain if they follow through? And more importantly, what do they lose if they don't? No drama, no accusations, just numbers. Don't announce your calculations. This is a private audit of reality. Practice this for 1 week, 7 days of dispassionate analysis. You will find your disappointment rate plummets. Why? Because you're no longer gambling on hope. You're operating on probability. Betrayals and letdowns stop feeling like personal, soul-crushing attacks. You already priced them in. You saw the potential for collapse before it happened, and you built a small emotional shelter. This isn't about becoming a paranoid cynic. It's about becoming a realist. A realist doesn't get their heart broken by the weather. They just learn to read the clouds. Each time you do this, you strip away a layer of fragile fantasy, and your mind tempers like steel plunged into cold water. You stop begging the world to be what it isn't, and you start mastering it for what it is. Section 2. Fortune favors the bold. Who did their homework? Everyone loves the bumper sticker version of the quote, "Fortune favors the bold." We imagine a heroic figure charging blindly into the fray and winning through sheer audacity. But we conveniently forget Machiavelli's brutal clarifying context. He compares fortune to a woman and argues she is more often won over by the impetuous and the violent than by the cautious. She is therefore always womanlike, a lover of young men, because they are less cautious, more violent, and with more audacity command her. This shocking metaphor isn't about misogyny, it's about strategy. Fortune, or Fortuna, is not a gentle goddess of luck. To Machiavelli, she is a violent river that can flood the plains and destroy everything in its path. You cannot stop the flood, but you can build dikes and embankments during the calm seasons to channel the destructive force when it inevitably comes. This is the part everyone misses. Boldness without preparation is just expensive, spectacular suicide. Machiavelli's other key concept is virtù. This isn't virtue in the moral sense. It's a mix of skill, strategic prowess, adaptability, and raw personal force. He argued that fortuna controls maybe half of our lives, but the other half is governed by our virtù. The mentally unbreakable person doesn't wait for good luck. They use their virtù to prepare for bad luck and to put themselves in a position to seize the fleeting opportunities that fortuna provides. So how do you operationalize this? You build a two-step reflex, a system for prepared boldness. Step 1. The 5-minute rule. This is your trigger for action. When a window of opportunity cracks open, you have 5 minutes to make a decisive move before your own internal bureaucracy, fear, self-doubt, overthinking, starts to slide it shut. That means asking for the number, hitting send on the risky proposal, speaking first in the critical meeting, apologizing when you're in the wrong. The rule isn't about being reckless. It's about overriding the paralysis of perfectionism. 5 minutes. The moment you identify the opportunity, the clock starts. This is how you train yourself to be impetuous in the Machiavellian sense, not thoughtless, but swift. Step 2. The 20-minute drill. This is your dike building. This is the homework. Every morning, before the world starts screaming for your attention, you invest 20 minutes in learning one new variable in your arena. 1. Not 100, just 1. Read one article about a competitor's strategy. Learn one new feature of the software you use. Research one objection a potential client might have. Listen to a podcast segment about a negotiation tactic. Gossip is intel. A price tweak is intel. A new regulation is intel. This isn't about aimless consumption of information. It's about sharpening one specific tool, adding one small stone to your embankment. 20 minutes a day is over 120 hours of focused preparation in a year. Your peers, who are scrolling through social media, are building nothing. They are exposed to the flood. This is the secret formula. Stored knowledge plus split-second motion equals what the world calls crazy luck. They'll see you make a bold move that pays off and say, "Wow, you got so lucky." They didn't see the 100 days of 20-minute drills that gave you the insight to know when to move. They didn't see you exercise the 5-minute rule a dozen times on smaller stakes to build the nerve for the big one. Boldness minus preparation is just public embarrassment. Boldness plus preparation is the quiet, unshakable certainty that when the loaded gun finally lands in your hand, you will know exactly when and where to pull the trigger. You aren't gambling, you are capitalizing on a meticulously calculated edge. Section 3. Pragmatism over purity, every time. Machiavelli warned that any man who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation. In other words, idealists who stroll into battle armed only with how things should be are the first to get trampled when how things are shows up wearing steel-toed boots. Idealists snap under pressure because their operating system is based on a fantasy. The fantasy that people should be fair, that systems should be just, and that good intentions should be rewarded. When reality inevitably proves this wrong, their entire worldview shatters. They are left with nothing but moral outrage, a useless self-indulgent emotion. The pragmatist, however, operates from a different playbook. They bend, absorb the blow, and spring back, often while the idealist is still delivering a monologue about injustice. The pragmatist isn't immoral, they are post-moral. Their primary metric is not what is right, but what works. This is a profound shift in mental software. Let's test drive it with a few scenarios. Scenario 1. Your flight is cancelled at midnight. You're stranded with 100 other people. The idealist, purity, marches to the gate agent and delivers a passionate 10-minute tirade about corporate responsibility, customer service, and the fundamental injustice of the situation. It feels righteous. It feels powerful. The agent, who has zero power to change the situation and has heard this speech 30 times already, offers a hollow apology. The idealist has gained nothing but a temporary spike of self-righteous adrenaline and higher blood pressure. They are still stranded. The pragmatist. Pragmatism. While the herd is yelling at the sky, they are already on their phone. They don't waste a single calorie of emotional energy on the gate agent. They are rebooking a flight through Denver on a different airline, searching for the last available rental car, or finding a nearby hotel. They accept the situation as a logistical problem, not a moral failing of the universe. They will be asleep in a clean bed while the idealist is still composing an angry tweet. Scenario 2. A friend or colleague you trusted sells you out to get ahead. The idealist, purity, confronts the friend, delivers a Shakespearean monologue on the sacred nature of loyalty and betrayal. The conversation devolves into a messy, emotional drama. They might get an insincere apology, but the trust is permanently gone, and now they've also earned a reputation for being thin-skinned and dramatic. The pragmatist says nothing, no confrontation, no drama. They simply and silently downgrade that person's security clearance in their life. The information they share becomes less sensitive. The favors asked become smaller. The reliance placed on them evaporates. They update their mental map of that person based on new data. The relationship may continue, but its function has been fundamentally altered. They conserve their energy and invest it in alliances that have proven more reliable. They move on without the baggage of a moral crusade. Pragmatism isn't cynicism. Cynicism is the lazy belief that everything is corrupt. Pragmatism is the active refusal to burn emotional jet fuel on a runway that never leads to takeoff. It's an obsession with outcomes. Each time you choose a practical result over a righteous performance, you drop another heavy brick into the foundation. of the fortress inside your skull. You are teaching your nervous system that effectiveness is a higher value than feeling right. The world stops being a source of constant disappointment and becomes a complex system of levers you can learn to pull. Section 4. Build discipline as a silent fortress. Machiavelli was an obsessive student of the Roman legions. He didn't just admire their battlefield victories, he admired the engine that produced them, the relentless, monotonous, daily discipline. He wrote The Art of War, where he argued that the strength of an army wasn't in its heroic commanders, but in its well-drilled soldiers. Discipline, he understood, is a wall you build one boring brick at a time, especially when no one is watching. The modern world has turned discipline into a performance. Every gym selfie posted, every productivity app screenshot shared, every performative 5 a.m. wake-up tweet. This is discipline as theater. It's a matinee for an audience of strangers. True discipline, the kind that forges an unbreakable mind, is a silent construction project. It's what you do when there's no one to impress, no like button to click, no applause to be had. Your feelings are the most powerful internal enemy of your potential. Your mood is a fickle, unreliable tyrant. Discipline is the quiet, systematic coup d'etat against that tyrant. It is the assertion that your long-term objectives are more important than your short-term feelings. So how do you build this fortress? You don't start by trying to build the entire castle at once. You start by laying one single, non-negotiable brick. Pick one. Just one. Make it your wake-up time. Let's say it's 6 a.m. for the next 30 days. When that alarm goes off, your feet hit the floor. No negotiation, no internal debate, no hitting the snooze button, which is the ultimate surrender of your will to your weakest morning impulse. Or two, you don't do it because you feel motivated. You do it because you made a promise to yourself. The first few weeks will be a war. Your mind will produce 1,000 brilliant excuses. You will honor the promise anyway. After 6 months of consistently honoring that single simple promise, or two will have hard empirical evidence that your word to yourself is more powerful than your mood. You have proven that you, not your fleeting feelings, are in command. Once that brick is set and the mortar is dry, you stack the next one. Pick a nightly shutdown ritual. For example, at 9:30 p.m. every night, the phone gets exiled to the kitchen to charge. It is banished from your sanctuary of rest. Then, you take 5 minutes to dump your brain onto a piece of paper. Every worry, every task, every unresolved issue, get it out of your skull and onto the page. Finally, you sketch out your top 3 priorities for the next day in 5 bullet points. This entire ritual takes maybe 15 minutes. These 2 habits alone, a non-negotiable wake-up and a structured shutdown, will reclaim about 15 hours of mental clarity and productive time per week that most people donate to mindless scrolling and anxious, unstructured grazing. From there, you can stack other bricks. A 20-minute walk every day, rain or shine, 10 pages of a real book every night, saving a non-negotiable percentage of every paycheck, no matter how small. These acts are not exciting. They are not glamorous, but they are the foundation of your fortress. This fortress isn't for show. It gets tested when your business fails, when a relationship ends, when you get a terrifying health diagnosis, when no one is coming to save you. And in that moment of crisis, your nervous system, trained by hundreds of quiet, deliberate acts of discipline, will not collapse. It will whisper, "I have been in charge through countless small wars. This is just a bigger one. I steer this ship." Section 5. Treat adversity as intel, not evidence of defeat. Machiavelli's exile was the most crushing adversity of his life. It was a professional and personal death sentence. Stripped of his position, tortured and banished, he could have drowned in bitterness and regret. Instead, that exile burned off his remaining illusions and became the furnace where his most powerful insights were forged. He understood a fundamental truth. A setback is only a failure if you stop extracting data from it. Most people experience adversity as a judgment. A job rejection is evidence that I'm not good enough. A business failure is proof that I'm an imposter. A breakup confirms I'm unlovable. This is the ego talking. The ego is fragile and self-obsessed. It interprets everything as a personal referendum. An unbreakable mind does not have time for the ego's theatrics. It treats adversity like a black box recovered from a crash site. Its only question is, what is the data? To put this into practice, you need a system. The next time you face a significant setback, a project gets shot down, you get passed over for a promotion, a client fires you, a personal relationship implodes, take out a sheet of paper, create 3 columns. Column 1. What happened? Adjectives deleted. In this column, you describe the event with the cold, brutal objectivity of a security camera. No emotional language, no interpretive flair. Not my idiot boss unfairly torpedoed my brilliant project, but I presented the project at the 10 a.m. meeting. The project was not approved for funding. The stated reasons were budget constraints and a shift in quarterly priorities. Stripping out the emotional adjectives is the first step to cooling the fire. You are separating the event itself from the story you are telling yourself about the event. Column 2. What I decided it meant about me. This is where you give the ego its moment in the spotlight, so you can see it for what it is. Write down all the toxic, self-flagellating narratives. It means I'm a failure. It means I'm not respected. It means I'll never succeed here. It means I was a fool to even try. Get it all out. Expose the raw nerve of your insecurity. Column 3. What it actually proved. This is the most crucial column. This is where you become the strategist. You analyze the data from column 1 to find the real lessons. What it actually proved is 1. I lacked a key piece of data on budget allocation before the meeting. 2. I failed to build a prior alliance with the head of finance. 3. The project proposal relied too heavily on long-term vision and not enough on immediate quantifiable ROI. 4. I misread the shifting political winds in the department. Look at the difference. Column 2 is a dead end of self-pity. Column 3 is a roadmap. By the time you have filled out this third column, the searing heat of the emotion has likely cooled, and in its place, a glowing, actionable strategy has begun to appear. Do this after every rejection, every breakup, every fiscal punch in the gut. In 12 months, you will possess a private, priceless encyclopedia of your own blind spots, weaknesses, and patterns. This is the intel your competition, the ones who are still just complaining about how unfair life is, will never bother to write down. The mind that once folded under a single no, now treats each setback like a free, intensive semester at the University of Staying Power. Adversity is no longer a verdict, it's just tuition. If you felt even a single flicker of "I need this" in your gut, then hit subscribe right now. Don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later, after the next notification or the next distraction. Each week, we loot history's darkest and most misunderstood corners to find practical, hard-edged tools for mental resilience, the kind your therapist might skip and your professors have definitely never heard of. This isn't about feeling good, it's about getting good. Tap the button and join the legion of minds that are learning not to flinch. If you felt even a single flicker of "I need this" in your gut, then hit subscribe right now. Don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later, after the next notification or the next distraction. Each week we loot history's darkest and most misunderstood corners to find practical, hard-edged tools for mental resilience, the kind your therapist might skip and your professors have definitely never heard of. This isn't about feeling good, it's about getting good. Tap the button and join the legion of minds that are learning not to flinch. This isn't a call for cheap hypocrisy. It's a recognition of a fundamental psychological principle. The outside shape drags the inside chemistry along for the ride. This is the strategic gap between who you are now and who you are becoming. You must use that gap, not as a space for deception, but as a construction site. 5 lessons. 0 space left for excuses. These are not philosophical curiosities. They are tactical commands for building a mind that does not break under the weight of the world. 1. See people clearly, not as you wish they were. Strip away your hopeful projections and run the cold math of their self-interest. Disappointment is a tax on illusion. Stop paying it. 2. Move fast, but only after you've done the prep. Combine swift, decisive action in the moment with relentless, silent preparation behind the scenes. What looks like luck is the dividend on homework no one else was willing to do. 3. Choose results over tantrums. Abandon the idealist's addiction to moral righteousness and become a pragmatist obsessed with what works. Your emotional energy is a finite resource. Stop wasting it on things you cannot change. 4. Stack silent discipline. Build your internal fortress with small, boring, non-negotiable promises to yourself. Prove to your own nervous system that your word, not your mood, is law. 5. Squeeze every scar for data. Treat every setback not as a verdict on your worth, but as a free piece of intelligence. Analyze the failure, extract the lesson, and build a roadmap. Do this consistently, and life stops happening to you. It becomes something you mine for leverage. The world splits into two groups: those who clutch their comforting fairy tales about how things should be, and those who are willing to see the brutal, beautiful machine for what it is. Let the herd keep their illusions. You're walking out with granite in your veins. Drop a comment below with the number of the lesson you are going to deploy first. Not an essay, not a long story, just the digit and one sentence on the battlefield where you'll use it. I read and answer every single one. And if you're serious about this, subscribe for next week's drop. We're going deep into Sun Tzu's empty fortress strategy and how you can use it to make manipulators and psychological bullies see a ghost army where you stand, sending them home confused and empty-handed. Until then, build quiet, stay steady, and remember, power isn't a performance you put on. It's a truth about yourself you finally stop apologizing for.